2026 comes with big changes. That's the title I did choose, besides what you might be missing out on, such as updates and regulatory. Now, what changes are we talking about? That's going to happen this year, or has already started, that we need to be aware of. If we take that as a before-after comparison, I think it's the easiest way to see the changes that will occur now. So before, we had a situation where you could do regulatory work on ad hoc basis, right? So if you had a planned audit in December, you could prepare everything just a couple of weeks before. So it worked pretty much like a balance sheet, right? Your current situation, they needed to see that. Now, that changed. Regulatory work must function continuously from this year on. I will get back to why. What's the driver behind this change? You get a little bit of a clue if you look further down this slide. That says MDR Article 10, Annex 2.3, and so forth. But let's not focus too much about that right now. Before, most regulatory people had a focus on passing an audit. Now, the focus must be being audit ready at all times. Again, I will get back to why and what is the driver behind this. There's a bunch who wants to join. Let's add them in. Sorry, I'm going to admit all. But from here, the classroom door is closed. Okay, final one. But now it is. Okay, so focus on passing an audit. That was before. Now focus on being audit ready at all times. Documentation is updated sporadically. Documentation, that was before. Documentation must be kept continuously up to date. Which led us to the fact that manual work could be sufficient before, but from this year and onwards, manual work quickly becomes unsustainable. And this is the string attached to the webinar title: missed updates, cross-domain relations, and so forth. It's just too much already when doing this manually. Already when it only required to be done ad hoc basis. Now you need to have more or less a 24/7 up-to-date applicable list of regulations, guidances, and standards, which means that you have to figure what the updates are, if they impact your current situation or not, which product is it for the company, and so forth. So it just escalates this year, given the demands of having it up to date at all times. All right, so what's the true driver behind this? What drives the change? Big picture. MDR and IVDR, long-time friends. They've been around for quite some time now. But if we just skip the first part here, by 2026, transition tolerance has ended. So if you have a legacy product and it is not within the risk classes that has transition through over 2027 and 2028, there are some. But most likely, if you have a new product or you need to renew your CE marking for a new variant of your product, or if you have a legacy product that needs to be under MDR or IVDR by 2026, then this is your call, which is for the majority. Regulators now expect up-to-date applicable requirements, not retrospective reviews. And that is clearly stated in MDR Article 10, Annex 2.3, IVDR, same chapter and same article and annexes, and also in ISO 13485, paragraph 4.1 and 7.5. So managing regulatory updates is no longer episodic. It is a continuous compliance function. All right. And when thinking about it, that you need one applicable list per product, per market, continuously up to date. And it also guidances, even though it's not a legal document, but it's required to have in your applicable list, as well as standards and the relationship between them. I think everyone that can do the math here sees how extremely cumbersome and riskful it will be trying to do this completely manual. The risk of missing an update in the local market, and the fact that you need to prove that you have had this under control throughout the entire period from last review to the next review, not just the time before the review. So when I said before you could do this as a balance sheet, current state, okay, this is the current situation, we're happy and fine. Now it's more like a cash flow statement. You have to illustrate how everything has changes from the beginning of a period until the end of the period, right? And that is very hard to achieve in a retro perspective review situation, right? Then you have to remember if your review or audit is in December and you haven't done this continuously, it is kind of tricky to remember what you did in January and try to find updates that happened in January in case you missed them. I would not recommend that. Okay, so this is the driver. Now, that leads us to system failure without remedy, really. And I think you all agree with me. If you don't, let me know. So there are different rules for every market. A lot of people still today make big mistakes by just saying that, well, we're selling in Europe, so we took the European Union regulations and put that on our applicable list and make sure we follow that and apply for CE marking within the European Union. That is not a good idea. We see a British flag here. Is Great Britain part of the European Union? No, it is not. Is Switzerland a part of the European Union? No, it is not. Is Norway a part of the European Union? No, it is not. It is an EEA country, which has a certain relation to the European Commission when it comes to regulations, meaning they are not forced by law to implement regulation as is, but there are agreements between Norway and the European Union that they do harmonize with the European Union regulations. Now, directives, is that a legal document that countries has to implement? No, it is a directive on what they preferably should do, which means they can choose to implement it as they like, more or less. I'm simplifying. Do they also have to implement regulations exactly as it is stated as for the European Union within the member countries? No, they do not, because every country is different and have a different legal system. So it has to fit local laws and do not interfere with other laws, which means local implementation differs. So you would need one for every local market within the European Union, as you would need one for any country in Africa, North America, South America, Asia, and so on. Different rules for every market, even within the European Union. New revised demands all the time, and we've done a lot of research, especially over 2024 and 2025, seeing that the number of updates increase tremendously. And that comes both for updates of regulations, guidances, notified body position papers, and standards. So it kind of doubles every year, which makes this really, really cumbersome. And when you come to an audit, they expect you to have reviewed all of the updates, no matter if it has impact or not, because how could you possibly tell that you knew whether it had impact or not if you didn't review it? Okay, so you need to, the traceability they're saying there was an update 1st of January. We reviewed it and we determined that it has no impact on our current compliance situation. So we dismissed it. But it is tracked and added as a note into your applicable list of regulation for traceability purposes. It's very defendable to have that within your list as well. No questions raised that you have, well, we have our applicable list of regulations here, and then we have tracked all the updates here. And as you can see, 1st of January, it was an update. Yeah, for what regulation? Oh, let me see. Maybe it is for, that is not defendable. That is not good for anyone, nor you, nor the auditor. It will, increase risks of making mistakes. So no one can keep this up to date automatically from now on and onwards. Trust me. Well, you can give it a shot, fine. But unless you're a sucker for walking around with a constant stomach ache, I wouldn't recommend it, honestly. Okay, so what we came here for is to, well, first of all, system failure with severe consequences. Well, we know that if you're not having things in order, we see this every day, actually, now on, that someone reaches out to us and say, well, we had a fine or a fining, maybe a minor one, but it's not very nice to have fees, because we know what happens when we have a minor finding is that they're going to review us even tougher the next time, because they think of us as, I don't know, sloppy maybe. It's just like when you go with your car for the yearly, I don't know what the terminology is in English actually, but if you have a finding there, they put that in the protocol. So when you go there the next time, they will review your car a little more detailed, nitty-gritty than a car that passed the last time. Statistically, it should actually be the other way around, but things don't work like that, especially not car reviewers and auditors. So fines and additional workload, delayed product launches, of course, and market withdrawal and recalls. You don't want to face any of these. So how to solve this then? You were asked to join this webinar in case you felt you had a situation where you were afraid of or have a challenge with updates, cross-domain regulations, keeping things in order. And I do not blame anyone who has a challenge with that. I would, however, become a little bit suspicious if someone said, well, we have perfect control. We have 55 spreadsheets and we follow 93 newsletters and yada, yada. That would make me a little bit suspicious. So there's a question, just a second, or a hand raised. Let me see here. Screen sharing stopped. Okay, that was not too good. That's weird. So let's try again. Thanks for raising your hand. And please make a shout out if that happens again. And I will make sure to get back. Or maybe you missed some, but we don't need to back off. Back off. I should back off if I get too much of a motor mouth here. But this is important and it's interesting. Now, where this took us is that we should look at how things could be solved, and there it disappeared again. This is really strange. Okay, it should be back. Yeah, so I better get on with this. So what we're about to launch in the very near future, it would be unwise of me to say that we will do this at a certain date, because we are making the final adjustments and final developments as we speak. But these are some early sketches as well, actually look a little bit different. I'm not permitted to show the real deal with you yet due to market information, but this I can tell you, and it's very close to what you will see when it's all done. So what Hoodin has designed to solve this once and for all is a compliance studio. And what we want to achieve with this is that you as a user could do the following, and it's free to use. There will be freemium version, paid versions, and so on, with traditional SaaS differences, that the free version should help you out on minor things. But if you want the real deal, of course, you need to pay, because we take on costs to develop and host this. What it will contain would be a studio agent. That will be the AI agent. So this is, let me put this right, this is an AI-driven platform. With that said, it's not completely AI. And I will reveal why in just a few minutes. So there will be a studio agent that is trained to understand and navigate the studio and help you out with pretty much every question that you might have. Now, the other type of agents would be expert agents, regulations, guidances, and standards. And what makes them different is that they are trained upon regulations, guidances, and standards only, and they're also fenced in to have dialogues around that only, globally. So for the system's opinion, it doesn't matter if you would like to put up an applicable list or have a dialogue with an AI agent on the regulatory situation in Australia or in Chile or in Norway. Doesn't matter, because they are trained upon all of them. So we have gathered approximately 20,000 regulatory documents, guidances, and standards that they are trained upon. Now, just talking to an AI that happens to be trained upon regulations is not really super fancy, in my opinion. What makes a big difference is that you can build your applicable lists, and they will be automated, in the sense that it will be automated in helping you knowing exactly what regulations, guidances, and standards that are applicable on your products. It will also provide you with the current updates. We will get back to that. Now, the trick here to achieve that is that you would add product and company profiles. Think of them as intelligence profiles, more or less, where you provide important metadata about a certain product or a company. Now, that metadata is used by the AI to always remember and understand the context that you have a dialogue upon. So you can just go in and say, hey, there's a new update regarding labeling in Belgium. Do you think that has an impact on ours? And it would say, well, given the fact that your product is a reusable pre-filled syringe, it does have an impact. Make sure to immediately contact marketing and labeling department, making sure that they do not send off new batches of product without the proper marketing after 1st of January or whatever date, and so forth. And you wouldn't have to say, well, our product is a pre-filled syringe. It's used for this and this, the indication and the intended use and so on. And having a dialogue with an AI without that context is very dangerous, because that's when you might have hallucinations, general replies, where the AI is making their best guess. Now, they're completely prohibited of making best guess, because we give them a very, very detailed framework to work around, all right? And you can have several products and several companies within a project. So once you build the list, you get a tailored list with tailored rationals and sections of regulations. So in this case, it says the directive red is given your metadata about the product. It is suggested as applicable, and you, as regulatory affairs person, would decide to add this or dismiss this to your list. And if you're uncertain, you can ask the agent and access that directly from the regulation. And again, the AI would understand immediately what kind of product are we talking about, because you're in your product profile and the list associated with that. And it would also know the context of, we're talking about the radio equipment directive, because it's related to the regulation. So it would know that. It would know all the latest updates about it as well. And you can have a detailed dialogue with the agent regarding the choice of having this as a suggested regulation to your applicable list, and the sections of the regulations that apply especially to your unique device, because the entire regulation would never be applicable, because the radio equipment directive goes from everything from radio towers, and I guess you do not have radio towers in your design specification of your medical device. That would be very odd. But you would have radio transmission Bluetooth connectivity and so on, and hence it would be applicable. Okay, so seems to be a question here. Just a second.
So, hello, hi, Jan this side. So
Yes.
actually, yeah. So my query regarding to the real-time data accessibility of the system means if something generated by the AI is a real-time means they link with the real-time authority respective directives and the guidelines, or something that we have ingested the data within the system. They are capable to articulate the contextual answer. It means.
Yeah, it has real time. If I heard you correct, that the audio was a little bit blurry. But if I understood you correctly and heard you correctly, your question was regarding the AI has up-to-date information regarding the regulation.
Yeah, exactly. Means some kind of the not open source data, but something like a real time authentic source information, just like talking about the US market, like FTA, EMA, and TGA, MHR, some kind of the regulatory body which are working across the, which are working for the specific market, so specific country. So it should be aligned with the respective guidelines and respective authority agency, or it's a open kind of the information AI is capable to articulating the answer from the open source data like Google's and anything.
Yeah. So, and this is a very good question, and also very, very important in our work and in our promise to all users, and also for the validation. We have to promise and make sure that the AI is having access to the latest version of the actual and in-force version of the document, all of them. So, and that's a big difference from using ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot, because they would only look what was in their last version of memory. And there might very well be a new amendment or a new version that was published, because most often, unless you don't really force them to and provide them with the URL, they might go in and read it, but it wouldn't read the 158 pages of MDR upon one query, and not the AI models that is accessible for private users. So that's a big difference. Now, that was exactly what I said in the beginning, that we have gathered over 20,000 documents to make sure that the data set is identified and gathered, and maintain those to make sure that the data set that the AI works with are the correct one and validated one. So it is from FDA, it is from all of the major issues on Earth that provides a regulatory framework for other regions as well. Then there might be smaller markets that does not have them accessible online or publicly, or don't even have regulations on their own. So now the work that we've done as well is that we've mapped countries, making sure that smaller or even undeveloped markets that might have been in a war situation or other situation that has forced them to harmonize with other countries' regulations. We related them to the what we call then the mother authority or home authority for the region.
But Marcus, actually, I have another same series of the question. It's something we are generating with such kind of the generative AI. So within that, we generating something contextual. So something is GPT model is just like a black box theory. Means they generate something with the some of the information, but they don't having the clue and chain of thought how they come to the specific information. But life science industry, some kind of the very highly regulated and complex industry, we can't rely on to the black box model. Means everything should be generated from the authentic source. Also, we have having the string of the each response. Means we should have to ability to trace back to the how they come to the this answer, how they come to this answer from which respective guidelines. So in context to that, is your model is a white box model or some kind of the black box model, something like that, GPT and Gemini and Grok, some things?
Well, Sometimes
So
that,
are you?
yeah.
Yeah. So the context is that white box is something like a terminology used into the AI industry. Like the model is capable to provide the series of the event, a chain of thought, how they come to this answer, and the people can backtrace to the answer. How the AI is able to, how the AI generates such answer, and they have provided the respective link where people can go through that link and can check trace the each context how they have captured from the respective guidelines.
Yeah, when if yeah, finding the correct and providing that, of course, that will be available. But there's no such thing that you could go and see what the AI, the reasoning model, how it really provided that suggestions and so on. And I see actually no point at all of providing that, because everything that is being provided by the AI is up for the user to determine whether they will use or not, or continues the dialogue. And I would say that if you do not understand the context of the provided reply, maybe
Okay.
you shouldn't work within regulatory. So I don't mean to be harsh or anything
But
regarding
now,
suggestion.
Marcus, actually now into the market, we know when I gone through the many demo session with another clients, like recently we have discussed with Deloitte's building their one of the models, which are the one kind of deterministic model. Within that, they are capable to understand the means models is able to provide the string of the chain of thought, how they come to this, how they come to this response. They will also provide the history, means or backtrack history. Means some AI generated something, so they can able to track back to how they, which regulation they have follow, and how they capture the information, critical information, metadata from the which guidelines. So
Yeah.
they're having the backtrace models, means which are some kind of the white box theory, means everything you can track, because we are working with the life science industry and tech industry, and banking, finance industry, and life science industry, highly regulated industry. So we can't go with the black box model. So it should be better to be aligned with the white box kind of the models that could able to backtrace to the each information which are generated by data.
Yep, I hear what you say here, but we need to stop that discussion because it's a bigger and longer one than during this demo. But traceability is important. We can agree upon that. Whether it should be a white box or a black box, that is a different story. So we'll leave that for now and continue. And what I wanted to share with you was also that you would always get suggestions on the applicable regulations and the rationale of why the AI is suggesting this. And if you differ on a reply, you can always open up the dialogue and go into dialogue mode with the AI. And here you can force the AI to generate the trail of the conclusion for the respond. But having that as a separate open field with backing data set, nah, that won't happen. Not at least not for us. We haven't heard either any demand or request for such thing. But the user can get that if they like to have it in the dialogue. And of course, all chats are stored for 7 days, and then you can mark them up as stored to use them in further distribution or documents. Otherwise, they will be auto-deleted within 7 days by rule. So, and I said we should fly this in within half an hour. We're already past that. And the last slide I wanted to show you was how we work with the updates. So all the updates are published, so you know exactly what source, what market it's related to, what regulation it's related to, and also you would have this specific view for each applicable list. So there might be duplication of updates because you have the same regulation for several products. However, the impact might differ. Even though the product is rather similar, the impact may still differ. That's why you need the difference of granularity in these update lists as well. And as a user, you would always handle the final call regarding an update, whether it does have an impact or not, and it would be added as a note to your applicable list of regulation. either if it's dismissed or accepted. But the AI will run a pre-analysis based upon your product metadata and made a labeling whether there is a risk level for compliance, continuous compliance situation regarding this current update. Has impact or is simply general? It's just, general notice, good to know. That you could just dismiss, but for traceability purposes, it is stated as being dismissed in the audit trail. Okay, and get all updates on applicable regulations. That should have been animated before that. A little bit of a short repetition, receive answers and support from train AI experts. We talked about that, so I'll just gonna skip that. One thing I want to mention, and we just touched upon this a little bit earlier, but why not use general AI models? Well, they are sometimes not, often they are not validated for use in life sciences. In many cases, they are not permitted for regulatory work. And they are, and this is probably the most important thing, and the reason why they aren't permitted for regulatory work at some companies. They are general purpose chatbots and lack the structured, controlled environment and required for compliant regulatory use, period. They lose the context. They will not be able to remember exactly the metadata regarding your product, what update it has handled already, and so forth. And you will end up in a long, slow chat where it makes mistakes, and you blame the technology. The technology is what the technology is. You're just trying to use it for something that it is not designed for when it's general. Now, I open that up for questions. 1 minute, because I have actually a hard deadline at in 2 minutes from now. Any further questions? No. So if no further questions, and feel free to reach out to us if you'd like to discuss anything in detail or follow up on something. We could do that regarding the discussion, rather black box, white box solutions and so on. Okay, so here comes a question. Is there a free demo available for practice it further? Yes, and here comes the final thing that I wanted to show you. What I recommend you to do is to sign up for early bird access. And you could do that at the hoodin.com/compliance studio sign up. We do not have a exact date for release yet, but we will keep you posted all until it's there. And when signed up, you will be one of the very first that will be able to lay your hands upon this free version to try out. And as I said earlier, it comes in the freemium version, where you will receive a set of tokens to use for the AI questions. And in the paid version, you can have this full-scale applicable list with updates and everything, but that's only available in the paid version. But please sign up for the early bird, and we could have dialogues when trying it as well. The good thing with being an early bird is, besides being first with the latest, is that you will have the opportunity to provide us with your wishes and requests on changes and proposals on design input. Okay, that's all, and I need to run. It was really nice to have you, and hope to see you in the early bird batch, because I will meet up with you there as well. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.